very brave young man, very brave.
I learn from them and they learn from me.
If water is the lifeblood, electricity is what makes everything go around.
How do we build this, and where are we going from here?
From a silo filled with grain in Kirkuk, to running water in Ramadi, to preservation of the historic ruins at Babylon. Since 2005, U.S. Provincial Reconstruction Teams, or PRTs, have cooperated with Iraqis on a wide range of development projects, living side by side with the military in all 18 provinces in Iraq. PRTs in Iraq are closing as of September 2011. Over the next half hour, we'll look at their accomplishments and legacy. First, here's U.S. Ambassador to Iraq, James Jeffrey, explaining the PRT mission.
You cannot know what's going on in a country by simply sitting in the capital. The very fact that you had PRT personnel, civilians as well as military out there, was a sign that this is a transition, it's a stabilization operation, it's not a period of major fighting.
To define the concept of provincial reconstruction teams, here are PRT members in their own words.
In your usual country, you have the embassy in the capital city. If you're fortunate, you have a few consulates, one consulate maybe, but here you had a team, one or more teams in every province in the country.
In the early years, we did a lot of bricks and mortar projects, building schools, helping build hospitals, clinics, refurbishing provincial council buildings. As time moved on, the PRT's mission shifted not so much to building things, but to providing training and technical assistance.
The two big agencies working here are going to be the military and the State Department.
It's also other agencies, USAID, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Department of Justice.
The right person going to the right country at the right moment in history can make a huge difference.
Farming is a small but critical piece of Iraq's economy. That's why PRTs have emphasized agriculture from the start, often with small grassroots efforts, like this demonstration farm north of Baghdad. It's feeding time for Abu Risha's flock. Dozens of sheep and lambs racing to the trough at his 86-acre farm north of Baghdad.
My name is Abu Risha. I lived on this farm since I was born and lived all my life in this area. My father, grandfather, and father all were farmers.
Though he wears a traditional robe, Abu Risha has a modern outlook. His sheep are eating high-protein pellets rather than wandering the fields foraging for grass. His wheat fields are lush and green thanks to modern irrigation techniques. He credits a U.S. Provincial Reconstruction Team that selected him as a demonstration farmer and provided funding for some modest upgrades.
My name is Tim Larry. I'm the Provincial Reconstruction Team Ag Advisor for Taji, Tarmiya, and Istiklal. Farmers don't normally respond well to theoretical training. They don't work well with classroom training, so what you need is some sort of an environment where they can come within their community, within someone they know and trust, see something being done, go back to their farm and say, I can replicate that.
In Iraq's hot, dry, and dusty climate, PRT agricultural teams across the country have also focused on improving irrigation. For centuries, Iraqi farmers flooded their crops through shallow ditches. The PRT has encouraged investing in sprinklers or pipes to provide a steady drip, using up to 70% less water than flood irrigation.
Now they see that when they don't flood their fields, all their fertilizer doesn't wash away. When they don't flood their fields, it doesn't pack the ground. The roots have a chance to breathe so that the plant thrives.
Along with the latest irrigation techniques, the PRTs have for years promoted hoop houses, plastic greenhouses that extend the growing season for eggplants, cucumbers, and tomatoes. They've been a big success, popping up all over the country.
I believe in progress in the world. When the PRT explained these farming methods to us, I was convinced that this was a better way. I am convinced that this way of farming will succeed. Instead of having 2 greenhouses, I will have 5 greenhouses and more from this success.
Abu Risha is an influential sheikh in the area. He's not just someone who's looking for something, he's looking for help on his community, which is exactly the person we wanted. It's not just about the money, it's about more than that. Well, it's about your family. It's about life.
In northern Iraq, a cornerstone agricultural project for PRT Kirkuk was renovating this grain silo that was looted and damaged in 2003. The PRT replaced all the moving parts, and the Iraqi government supplied the final piece, a hydraulic truck lift dramatically cutting the time for weighing and processing grain. In Babel province, the PRT helped build this farmers' co-op, 50 miles south of Baghdad. Local farmers auctioning fresh vegetables in the parking lot. Wholesalers traveling from all over the country to take advantage of competitive prices. First Lieutenant Dan McCord provides security for the Babel PRT. He says getting to know local leaders by name was key to stabilizing the area. As PRTs from across Iraq look back on lessons learned, most agree these face-to-face relationships are critical.
You know, as a soldier, you realize that there's sometimes a target put on you. Once you have those relationships, once you understand, you know, their role and they understand who you are, the walls come down a little bit.
And you have to give credence to that personal relationship. And that involves sometimes calling people and just saying hi.
And you don't deal with voicemail, you don't deal through email, you're building people-to-people relationships. So things take time to brew and stew, to develop.
In Iraq, the coin of the realm is trust. And trust only comes through personal interaction, frequent personal interaction.
Up next, encouraging women entrepreneurs.
110 in Iraq.
Skyrocketing growth at a regional airport. And the bond between civilians and soldiers serving on PRTs.
The young kids who take us outside the wire time after time, they're prepared to take a bullet for us. And sometimes they have.
Before Iraq lands more private investors, it needs major improvements in infrastructure like transportation. From PRT Najaf, the U.S. has provided financial and moral support to bring an international airport to southern Iraq. In peak season, dozens of flights touch down every day at Najaf International Airport in southern Iraq. This was once a helicopter landing zone for Iraqi government officials, but within the last 3 years, it has rapidly transformed into a bustling commercial airport.
I am Isa Al-Shammari. I master's degree of aircraft engineering, and now I'm the Najaf International Airport Director.
During the 10-week tourism season in 2010, nearly 9,000 passengers passed through the airport every day, mostly Shiite pilgrims visiting holy sites in Najaf and nearby Karbala.
It has a significant meaning for Muslim Shia and all Muslims in general. So people coming to visit worldwide, and especially from the surrounding countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, even the United States.
Well, I live in the U.S. and I came to visit Iraq for the first time. I was actually shocked. I was expecting worse, honestly, from the news and everything I hear. But I mean, it's good that they actually have airports now. People can go out and feel safer.
The PRT has been instrumental in the airport's phenomenal success, developing a master plan, funding improvements to the terminal, and helping secure modern communications and weather systems. Revenue in 2010 averaged more than $3 million per month.
The highest levels.
PRT economic advisor Phil Mondrowski says a healthy tourism industry has invigorated the local economy.
There are thousands of taxi cabs that weren't here before this airport had converted. It just didn't happen. You've got the bus companies. They were not here before this airport had converted.
Mondrowski admits corruption remains an issue that could scare off private investors as political parties vie for influence over the airport.
Something like the airport that is generating millions of dollars, it's very easy to see how competing political parties may want more of an involvement with what's going on at the airport.
The thing which we have to be proud with, we achieved such kind of level of serviceability, professionality, and safety.
Dr. Issa credits a staff that's quick to learn. Zainab Musin is Senior Operations Officer.
I like the most actually sometimes when pressure, you feel the adrenaline rush right to your head and make you think very quickly, and you have to find solution in some certain situation. That's what I like here.
They are hungry. They are hungry for what could be.
Bahrain and Bahrain Mumbai.
And with that desire and that hunger, they have proven to be good partners with us.
I mean, I have a lot of good things to say, but also a lot of bad things to say to it when I go back. But I mean, I would definitely come back again.
Healthcare has also been a major focus of the PRTs. In Baghdad, at an upscale private hospital, this 18-month-old boy is recovering from hernia surgery. Through a PRT grant, Dijla Hospital is providing 120 free operations for patients who can't afford medical care. Baby Radha was delivered by cesarean section. His parents are Shia. The hospital is Sunni. But under the PRT grant, patients of any religious sect are welcome. To the south in Basra, these budding entrepreneurs are arriving at a U.S. military base to sell traditional handicrafts, clothing, artwork, and food. The participants have been studying sales, marketing, and personal empowerment. PRT Basra has recruited many of these same women to lead programs on domestic violence and women's rights.
My message to women, my message to the world, and I have it on a poster: give me my freedom. No to teenage marriage, no to forced marriage. I asked every abused woman to stand against violence and not to give up.
Teaching the women their rights is very important, because a lot of them don't know, and even some of them are highly educated, but they still don't know their rights.
Next door to the women's handicraft market, it's a mariachi morning for soldiers from the Texas National Guard stationed at the U.S. military base in Basra.
My name is Chief Jeff Lightsey, and I'm the commander of the 36th Infantry Division Band, Texas Army National Guard. I have 17 soldiers here, including myself, that are doing musical operations here.
Because it bounces?
Their job is to support and entertain the troops, but they've recently expanded their mission to include mentoring music students at Basra University. The Basra PRT introduced the soldiers to the students, and what started as a one-day cultural exchange turned into regular workshops.
They were very interested, for example, the Tejano music is really, I mean, it's a Texas, Mexico thing.
In a different key because they're different pitches.
Most of the guardsmen are music teachers back home, but Chief Lightsey says the learning goes both ways here. Adnan Sahi is Deputy Dean at the Basra University Music Department.
Iraq, before the year 2003, was living in a kind of isolation. We didn't have contact with the rest of the world. In general, the Iraqi culture has had a lack of acceptance of Western classical music.
We used to be isolated. This opened horizons for us to gain knowledge about Western arts. Now we accept Western music because we study it in college.
As the U.S. military and PRT draw down, both Chief Lightsey and the professor hope their partnership has struck a chord that will resonate in Basra for years to come.
The idea that we go there, that we learn from them, that it's an exchange, but they see us as musicians. They don't necessarily see us as soldiers.
Music has a connection on organizing life because it has a rhythm, and the universe is organized through a rhythm. I wish the music will mean to people peace and love and coexistence.
PRTs include both soldiers and civilians planning and implementing reconstruction projects together. The military also provided security and protection, but sometimes civilians had doubts about how that affected their diplomatic efforts.
We get into heavily armored vehicles with machine gun turrets on top, and they go in convoys, and the soldiers pop out and they've got full armor and their weapons are there.
For the most part, the civilian-military relationship developed and matured into one of mutual respect.
They have a lot more insight on the ground with what goes on in the province than we do in many ways, and we capitalize on that.
The PRT works with the government to increase their ability to provide civil capacity. We do so in their ability to provide security.
Think of it this way. A bicycle has two pedals, security and development. You can't move that thing forward with only one pedal. You need both.
There's something special that they would bring that was direct, that would focus any of the challenges, focus the results.
They have that mindset of, this is our mission, we have to be out of here by the end of the year, and we have to achieve an end state that allows us to do that. Whereas State Department, our mentality tends to be that, well, we're here forever.
9 years, very good. How about this side?
Just ahead.
You know the numbers? 1, 2.
Counting on the future by inspiring a new generation and the power to change people's lives. Along with security, what matters most to Iraqis are basic services, reliable electricity, and drinkable water. In Anbar province in the western desert, clean water was a critical need.
Truthfully, the problems are many because of the difficult security situation. It was not easy to travel, and there was a lack of supplies for maintenance.
The Anbar PRT has built or repaired about 150 water treatment plants in the last few years. Dean Madeline is a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel who came back to Iraq as a PRT.
We have provided the capacity for 97% of all Anbaris to have potable water.
Electricity is a tougher problem. Anbar gets about 5 hours a day, the same as 4 years ago. Though generation has doubled, it barely keeps pace with skyrocketing demand. Still, as the PRT departs, Madeline says Anbar is on track to self-sustainment.
Every day these people have courage to get up and go try to rebuild their city, their province, and their nation. And you see that and you say, that person has courage like I've never seen, more courage than I'll ever had.
At Anbar Women's College in Ramadi, both faculty and students hide their faces from strangers. A fear of Al-Qaeda still prevails here. But the Anbar PRT has tried to improve opportunities for women, building chemistry labs, a biology lab with a feminine touch, and a computerized English lab.
With long E.
After visiting the U.S., the dean says he was astonished to learn Americans also embrace single-sex education, though not for religious reasons.
U. U is the short vowel.
He thinks women's colleges in the U.S. foster self-confidence and leadership. He wants to instill that same spirit here. Iraq is known as the cradle of civilization. It's home to Babylon, one of the world's oldest cities and potentially a major tourist attraction. Visible from a hilltop about 50 miles south of Baghdad lie the ruins of the ancient city of Babylon, most famous for the palace and legendary hanging gardens, constructed around 600 BC.
So this is documentary data about the palace.
The U.S. has been criticized for damaging the renowned archaeological site by setting up a base here in 2003. But for the last several years, the Babel Provincial Reconstruction Team has worked diligently to repair, restore, and preserve the ruins.
The ghosts of Iraq's past linger in the 4,000-year-old ruins, and when the modern-day Iraqis visit that site, they feel a deep connection to their roots.
To the horror of archaeologists, Saddam Hussein tried to rebuild part of ancient Babylon in the 1980s, piling heavy cement bricks onto the original mud brick base.
It was not done by archaeologist method. You see such a heavy load over a basement with thousands years old.
Meantime, tourists tramp freely through an older section of ruins, crunching through shards of ancient pottery.
This is cuneiform writing.
Through a multi-million-dollar U.S. government grant, the embassy is working with the Iraqi government and the World Monuments Fund to help preserve the site and prevent further damage. The PRT has already funded a complete renovation of Babylon's public areas, including a replica of the famous Ishtar Gate.
The care that the Iraqi craftsmen put into refurbishing the reconstructed gate, I think, is quite evident as they try to match the original colors. They match the original texture of the animals.
Within 3 months, tourism increased from a trickle to about 10,000 visitors a week.
This is the original line of Babylon.
The hope is someday Iraq can share its archaeological treasures with visitors from all over the world. To the north in Tikrit, the PRT has sponsored democracy workshops for local politicians and community groups. It's one of many PRT programs involving training and mentoring, rather than tangible brick-and-mortar projects. This meeting was held in a Saddam-era palace that was off-limits to ordinary citizens before 2003. Now, they're openly discussing democratic principles.
Actually, he neglects the tribes' titles and the sectarian stuff. Just to work like the other countries in the world work.
What happens when the PRTs close? Alonzo Wind is a USAID representative in Saladin, explaining the agency's future role to a local nonprofit group.
We'll be able to continue relationships with organizations in Saladin.
USAID will continue administering programs in provinces through NGOs, and the State Department will continue its work through the embassy in Baghdad and consular offices in Erbil, Basra, and Kirkuk. That means less face-to-face contact, but a more normal diplomatic relationship under the Strategic Framework Agreement that outlines a future of long-term cooperation between the U.S. and Iraq.
We're unlikely to have anyone actually permanently stationed in the province.
It's going to turn into more of a diplomacy-based relationship, the kind that we have with every other country in the world.
The fact you don't have a brigade, camped out in your province doesn't mean that the the U.S. government isn't strategically partnered with the, success of your nation.
The Iraqis want to see an end to what they see as a foreign military presence, and they want to see a return to normalcy.
A return to normalcy would certainly make a difference in shaping the future for Iraqi children. Here's more from an elementary school north of Baghdad. Walking through rubble and trash to arrive at a campus surrounded by concrete blast walls. For the 800 students at Al-Dawaya Primary School north of Baghdad, classrooms are trailers. No heat, no lights, no windows to block the chill of an early March morning. With up to 70 kids per class, some children are left sitting on a cold, dirty floor.
My name is Azhar Musa Qadoum. I'm the principal of Al-Dawaya Primary School. Before the Americans added classrooms to the school building, every classroom had 60 to 70 students. We suffered so much at that time.
The principal says she was grateful when a U.S. Provincial Reconstruction Team offered to repair and expand an existing school building.
We didn't expect this gift to us. We taught in trailers. The teachers wished they could touch bricks.
The conditions at Al-Dawaya School captured the attention of PRT agricultural advisor Tim Lowry after he met one of the students at a farm, a 4-year-old orphan boy.
Little Yasser, when you look at him, he's 4 years old. His little eyes are so soulful. I try to get him to smile, essentially. And he's standing there all fragile. I'm hoping for him the same things that I hope for my son, that he grows up and is happy, that he grows up and that he's prosperous.
Funding to refurbish Yasser's school came from the PRT, but soldiers from Camp Taji donated their time to add a final touch by repairing broken down desks.
I'm Sergeant Harvey Bautista, and currently we're assembling desks that we already fabricated for Iraqi schools. And give me a selection of both.
When I joined, I was told I was going to be helping people, and it's kind of nice to be able to come over here and do something that is actually helping, the education system out over here.
The new school opened in late spring. Now the average class size is down to 38. with improvements in both teaching and learning. Since 2003, the U.S. government has trained more than 33,000 teachers, distributed more than 8.6 million textbooks, provided supplies to more than 2 million students and teachers, and built or repaired some 4,000 schools.
Now we understand our lessons better. The old school was hot in summer, and in winter, rain came from the ceiling.
As the PRT mission winds down, a new generation of Iraqis is preparing to take on the responsibility of building the country's future.
We can't fix everything here, and that's not our job. So they have to take ownership of it at some point, and that's coming up.
Finally, the legacy of Iraq's Provincial Reconstruction Teams from those who served on the PRTs.
The PRTs really helped Iraqis see that the future of the U.S.-Iraq relationship would be one that would be civilian-led.
This is something new. We're really in new territory here. And how this goes in the next few years will be a model again for what we may need to do in the future elsewhere.
Our legacy will not be determined by any single project. It will be determined by the Iraq that emerges in the years ahead.
History hasn't been finished, completely scripted, and I want to be a part of that.